The 250th anniversary is a giant milestone.
I think it's very patriotic.
Simply just declares independent.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Right now, I get kind of like the hairs
that all men are created equal.
Just kind of stand up.
I do have most of it memorized.
These were actually British Americans.
They were stationing armies.
The Founding Fathers had enough.
And didn't really mention women at all.
These are our rights that are being taken away.
Overtaxation, lack of freedom.
Whoa, we have a lot of grievances here.
Have our own pursuits of happiness.
This is what we're gonna do, whether you like it or not.
And it kind of just all piled together.
It's the year 1776. For almost 170 years, British colonies have existed in North America, governing themselves freely. They feel established and independent until the French and Indian War, part of the 7 Years' War between Britain and France over control of colonial territory, which resulted in a British victory. But it was so expensive that Britain started to tax the colonies to pay back its debt from the war. And they didn't like that. For years, the colonies resisted those taxes, trade restrictions, and increasingly tighter imperial control. During the Boston Tea Party of 1773, some colonists disguised as Native Americans to conceal their identities threw hundreds of chests of British tea into the harbor in protest. Also, fighting between the British and the colonists had begun in 1775 in Lexington and Concord. America was at war with its mother country as more and more colonists felt the need to break free from Britain. A year later, the Continental Congress appointed a committee of 5 to draft the Declaration of Independence, with Thomas Jefferson being its main author. But what did the document entail in detail, and what did it really mean? We're going to dissect and decode America's birth certificate, each key sentence, to see if it was simply a political power play or a progressive promise, especially for younger generations and their future. You'll find out what the language meant back in the day, and how it could shape America's presence. To help with that, we're joined by some of the youngest mayors and community leaders in U.S. history. Nonpartisan Mayor Eva Fipps from Henderson, Iowa, Democratic Mayor Joi Washington from Mediaborough, Pennsylvania, and Republican Mayor Tom Nguyen from Garden City, Kansas. Senior research fellow Michael Auslin is also with us. His new book is titled National Treasure: How the Declaration of Independence Made America. The original document was drafted by Thomas Jefferson over just a few days in Philadelphia. Then adopted and dated by the Second Continental Congress at Pennsylvania State House after careful revision on July 4th, 1776.
When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another,
and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the nature's God entitle them.
A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
I think that declaration was, I think it was created through a war. And it's kind of different now because I guess in the example of dissolving political bands, I think that it feels like an open-ended request for voters to, choose different representatives. And if someone is not doing what they're supposed to do, people have the right to choose someone else.
I think our society, even not only United States, but globally, if we don't view all of us to have some sort of ontological framework that we were made for something, made for to be entitled to human rights, to be entitled to climate justice or digital autonomy in some ways, I think it detriments a society, even for young people, to say, no, one person has less dignity than me.
You deserve bodily autonomy and when it comes to you need to go to the bathroom. You're gonna do that. You need to have a safe place to do that. You need to be able to take care of yourself, take care of your person.
In fact, this passage marks the point when 250 years ago, the colony's leading figures felt like they had to cut ties, political bands, with Britain. The act of breaking free was framed as part of a natural chain of events, a logical reaction rather than a rebellion. But the idea needed the support of the people. In 1776, the term separate and equal station was meant in international terms, to be treated as a state or a nation equal to those in Europe, as if to say, we've grown up now. Equal did not address individual social groups such as underprivileged women, men without property, slaves, or indigenous people. And the term laws of nature underscored in 1776 that it was about natural sovereignty, and thus trade rather than personal equality.
The Declaration of Independence, in many ways, was a document designed, first of all, to give comfort to the patriots, to say, yes, you are not alone, to try to sway those who were, as we say, sitting on the fence, who hadn't decided, and maybe to convince those who were loyalists that they should join the cause. Americans were definitely not united at the time of the Revolutionary War. In fact, much later in life, John Adams, who was really the leader of the Patriot cause, wrote in a letter that at the time of independence, 1/3 of Americans supported it, the idea of being free. Another third were loyalists to the crown. They didn't want to separate. And in good American fashion, a final third had no opinion on the matter.
Also, at the time of the Declaration and the beginning of the American Revolutionary War from 1775 to 1783, America was losing against the British. The colonies needed support, especially from France, which it provided. The Declaration unified the colonies and fueled the war. In 1778, France was the first to recognize the United States.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
That all men are created equal.
That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Today, it's a huge debate. People are constantly arguing over what even the word life means. People argue, when does life start? When does life end? There's contradicting beliefs. There's the beliefs on abortion. There's the beliefs on the death penalty. There's beliefs on all of that. Nowadays, it's kind of scary to talk about what you personally think life means. You will be villainized by one party or the other, no matter what you do.
The pursuit of happiness, I think, is the most critical. I think more than ever, Gen Z and even millennials are feeling like it is much more difficult to have some sort of pursuit of happiness when we are living in a world of increased inflation to buy a house and being compared to baby boomers who are saying like, oh, well, I bought my house for $50,000 and here we are trying to buy a house for $300,000-$400,000. And it's hard to view that as a liberty.
It's actually explicitly important for men and women and people of all races to make this document and that line become more truthful, and there won't be much happiness if everyone is not equal.
Mainly rooted in John Locke's Enlightenment theory and his law of nature beliefs, the phrase "all men are created equal" did not mean that, socially speaking, everyone was identical in wealth, talent, or status. It again referred to God-given political and national equality among peoples, not individuals. It was directed against hereditary aristocracy, namely those born into power by divine right, like the British King George III. Life in the colonies very much depended on region, class, race, gender, and legal status. Wealthy white landowners, merchants, and office holders held the most political power, whereas poor white men were excluded from it. Enslaved black people were widely treated as property and virtually had no rights. Indigenous people's rights were ignored, and they were displaced as colonial settlements spread. And women were broadly excluded from politics and personal decision-making. Especially married women could not do anything without the permission of their husbands. Depending on their colony, unmarried women could, however, own property or run businesses.
Later, the idea that these rights should be extended to everyone, women, blacks, immigrants, American Indians, that's the story of how the Declaration of Independence made America, because eventually it became adopted by all these different groups, by women suffragettes in the 19th and early 20th century, obviously by abolitionists, both black and white, by immigrants coming to the country who demanded to be treated equally. The idea of equality became the single core definition of what it meant to be American.
Over time, this particular phrase and the word equal came to be interpreted as a universal moral claim. Over time, all men was read as all people, with younger generations expanding its meaning. The principle is increasingly understood as asserting human equality across race, national origin, gender, religion, and other forms of identity. The reality, however, is often quite different.
I do not believe that they are all treated as equals. And we can see this very clearly throughout the history of the United States. When I think of the bombing in Pearl Harbor and then the treatment to Asian Americans right after that, we see that it's not necessarily of all men are created equal.
I don't know if me as a Black woman in America was thought of as like an actual person to some of the writers, especially Thomas Jefferson. When I read this, even though I do see all men are created equal, it was the work of women and Black women who made themselves heard for voting rights, reproductive rights, and just overall having our own liberty.
Even today, we're still trying to reach that point where everyone is viewed equally. I think each individual person, not even just our government, holds certain prejudices within themselves, and they hold people at different levels instead of holding them equally.
For the founders, life, as in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, guaranteed the right not to be arbitrarily killed by British actions, as had happened in the Boston Massacre of 1770, where 5 colonists were killed by British soldiers, or in the battles of Lexington and Concord. More and more British troops were stationed as a standing army. Liberty was not yet meant as a call for universal equality of freedom for everyone, but rather for primarily white male colonists to be free from arbitrary rule, especially from a king or a faraway government. And the pursuit of happiness did not entail pleasure, fun, or emotional satisfaction when Jefferson wrote it. It was synonymous with the right to seek personal flourishing and to improve one's condition through work, enterprise, property ownership, and moral development. And this is why it became so famous, not just for Americans, but for people across the world who are seeking a good life, the American dream.
What the Declaration says is that everyone shall be treated equal and therefore given the same chance as everyone else. You can't deny someone the chance, but you also can't demand that every outcome be equal because people are different. But the idea that we should not allow someone to have the same chance and the same opportunity because of their color of their skin or their religion or their gender or the like is something that goes against the spirit of our Declaration.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government.
There are so many different ways that people can make their voice heard within our government. Each representative within our government, even from a tiny little mayorship in a town of 144 people all the way up to the presidency, has lines where you can call in or places where you can submit papers to talk about your discontent. We have the right to peaceably protest. We have the right to peaceably assemble. There's also petitions. Petitions are a huge part of our government.
It makes me feel like those writing the Declaration of Independence really wanted to insert the fact that to say to Britain, hey, you guys really stink and we're done, tired. I think they just wanted to put a jab in, but I'm thinking in modern terms, I don't necessarily know if it's an invitation to overthrow any government where the people feel like it's unjust or it should be dissolved. It seems that it gives people the understanding that the government should serve you, but I don't necessarily know if everyone agrees with that idea.
I feel like people have been starting to take up their guns again. I think it's not really there just yet, as it was in 1776, as that was like an all-out war. And that was a very long war. So the different types of battles that we're fighting now are through elections, through courts, judicial systems.
In 18th century logic, to secure these rights meant that governments existed to protect divine rights rather than to grant them. Back then, Congress believed rights came from nature, not from human creation, and certainly not from kings. If a government like the British 250 years ago were to violate any natural rights, it would lose its legitimacy, which then would allow the people to institute new government, basically to overthrow it and start a rebellion. The Declaration sparked the so-called Age of Revolutions until the mid-19th century, significantly changing the European political landscape.
So Jefferson had to lay that out first and to say, we have these rights from God, they are expressed within a political community, government cannot take them away, but the British government is taking them away, and therefore our revolution is justified. The really important lines were the charges, because those gave the justification for separating from Britain. The charges against King George.
He has refused his assent to laws.
He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly.
He has refused for a long time to cause others to be elected.
He has refused to pass other laws, unless those people would relinquish the right of the representation in legislature.
Imposing taxes on us without our consent.
He has made judges depend on his will alone.
He is kept among us in time of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures.
The list goes on and on.
If we say we're a nation trying to remove ourselves from the grievances from 1776, it's not that great of a look if that's still happening right now. It's not that great of a look if we are still in that same boat, except it happens with our people. I think that these grievances point to someone across the pond as opposed to someone inside. And now it's hard to point at yourself if your hand can only point forward. There are so many of those in government, especially federally, where I can say, wait a second.
I think if some of these grievances continued to happen today, that it would be shambles, and it would definitely lead to that.
I'm looking at the last line about being standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. And then I think about Iran, the war in Iran and other wars. And it's just like those wars were created without the consent of anyone.
I know one of our modern day protests is our No King's Day protests. America had a bunch of people that thought our president was playing more of that patriarchal role. And so those people are already doing that.
I don't think we'll see another 1776 moment. The question is, will we see another 1861 moment, right? We already are one country, so there's no one we can separate from as we did in 1776. The question is, do we stay together or we split apart?
1861 is a reference to the American Civil War until 1865, when 11 seceded Southern states surrendered and returned to the Union. But that's another story, almost 100 years after the Declaration of Independence, where in the final 3 paragraphs the Founding Fathers speak of a legal defense, as in, we have petitioned for redress, answered only by repeated injury. In the rhetoric of 1776, this summarizes a considerable awareness of losing everything while breaking free. It all comes down to we must acquiesce in the necessity of separation, the existential moment of having to part ways, for good. We mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
I'm really split on the next 250 years.
Our nation's future is so hard to predict.
I really, really hope that it is more of a pride for our nation.
That Americans recognize how precious their democratic experiment is.
I honestly would say that some of us might feel even embarrassed of the direction of our nation.
Yes, I do see another civil war happening.
That they seek to preserve it, to protect it, but also to deepen it and enrich it.
We are still trying to figure this out.
Every person that voices their concerns can make a difference.
If we don't make it, then we just won't be a country anymore.
But what we can do is let's reduce it down to the lowest philosophy that we can and make it true and make it right.
That, I think, will be the story of the next 250 years of American history.